Salt Lake County. We're going to ask him why voters don't seem to have an appetite for this multi-million-dollar public safety bond.
And what is so interesting to me about this bond's failure, or at least the potential failure, is Salt Lake approved hundreds of millions of dollars in bonds for schools. So very willing to spend on schools, but not on jails.
Countdown to...
In our 10 o'clock hour, we're going to go in depth with our own takes on U.S. Senator-elect John Curtis's pitch to get the younger generation into their first home. We had this conversation with him live yesterday on the heels of his election win. He will replace Senator Mitt Romney, who's retiring. And he dropped what I thought was a stunning plan. It surely made me think about things that, after our conversation, that would make homeownership possible for our young adult children, in my view. Legalizing the use of our retirement savings that we've been socking away for decades to fund our children's or immediate family members, whoever that is, down payment.
It's called a self-directed IRA that people can do, and that money stays in the IRA. They can buy real estate with it.
One of the things that concerns me or worries me about some of these loosening of the rules of how we can spend our retirement savings is, are we going to spend it all before we get to retirement? Is this a benefit for our kids maybe right now at the expense of what happens when we retire? Or maybe our inability to retire because we haven't saved enough?
Launch countdown 1.
President Biden set to address the nation any moment from the Rose Garden at the White House. We will listen in to his speech, which comes the day after his own vice president and Democratic nominee for president, Kamala Harris, spoke to her supporters gathered at her alma mater, Howard University, for her, what I felt was a very well-written and personal concession speech.
We will help him and his team with their transition, and that we will engage in a peaceful transfer of power.
That's an important, very important comment to make right there. We're going to help. We're going to transition. Now, it's a little easier to do when, quite honestly, this is a blowout victory. There weren't question marks like there was back in 2020 when the race was much, much closer. But nevertheless, I think this is an important step forward for the Democrats to put out an olive branch to say, listen, even though we're leaving, we're going to help you every step of the way. That's a great message to send.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The launch.
Commence.
Your voice, your vote 2024. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
Vice President Kamala Harris telling Americans and her supporters yesterday during her concession speech, don't throw up your hands. Don't throw up your hands. Now is the time to roll up your sleeves. And I felt her concession speech, as I listened to it, hit the perfect tone.
To the young people who are watching, it is okay to feel sad and disappointed. But please know it's going to be okay. Do not despair. This is not a time to throw up our hands. This is a time to roll up our sleeves. This is a time to organize, to mobilize, and to stay engaged for the sake of freedom and justice and the future that we all know we can build together.
A very, very good description. I thought it was a very good speech. This is where I had a little problem with it. It's in such sharp contrast to the rhetoric we'd been hearing leading up to the election, where Donald Trump is being called a fascist and that our democracy is at stake and it's going to end. When you compare those two speeches, and when we hear that kind of rhetoric and it is whiplash back and forth, well, which one is it? Is it all going to be okay? Or did we just hand the government over to a fashion in this country of our politicians have some very wonderful, beautiful words when they want to. They also have some very harsh and biting and cutting and divisive words as well.
Well, I wanted to hear that the transfer of power would be peaceful. I don't want to go back to what we saw 4 years ago. I think most of us feel the same way. And both Kamala Harris and President Joe Biden promising that would happen. Both of them calling President-elect Donald Trump on the phone. And in fact, President Joe Biden extending an invitation for President-elect Donald Trump to visit him at the White House. And according to my read on abcnews.com, that visit will happen shortly. I was very pleased to see that.
Yes, and it's important to see that. I think one of the big failures of 2020 was when Trump didn't attend the inauguration. I think that was such a slap in the face, and it speaks. It's an important part of this transfer of power to say, listen, we fought, we battled, we lost, and I'm going to sit there and listen to you give your vision for America. It's an important part of the way we transfer power from one group to the next.
Straight ahead, as we wait for President Joe Biden to address the nation from the Rose Garden, Dave and I are going to take an in-depth look at what is happening with this public safety bond regarding jail in Salt Lake County and other aspects of how criminals get processed and also receive the mental health care that they may need. It does not appear at this point to be on track to pass. We're going to ask KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas for his take on why.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
Elections matter greatly. Policies matter. And leaders shape and give voice to nations. As the results of this election take shape and those on both sides learn how the vote was decided, we're reminded of the privilege we have to decide these things freely, fairly, and finally, a reminder of the sacredness of our freedoms from KSL News Radio.
Years ago, I had Mountain Home Services install my furnace, and then every couple of years, they'd come in and do a yearly service. And I've loved it. It is humming along beautifully, and I was so happy with Mountain Home Services. Well, now they've actually joined forces with Master Electrical Service as well.
So they could work on all your electrical needs. You need an outlet replaced. You need a ceiling fan installed. And yes, I use my ceiling fans all year long, even in the winter. Or maybe you need your HVAC worked on. And it's not only that they can do all of the above, but now they've added fireplaces to the mix.
And that makes sense because fireplaces tap into all those needs, right? Your electrical needs as well as your heating and air, plumbing maybe needs to be moved around. Mountain Home Services can take care of all of those things, and it still comes with that upfront pricing guarantee, no hidden fees.
And that gives you 100% satisfaction guarantee as well. Of course, Master Electrical Service has been the name you trust since 1954. And now that they're combining their forces with Mountain Home Services, think about all of the things that you can check off that to-do list.
Yeah, check them out. Look at those fireplaces. Just go to their website, mountainhomeutah.com. That's mountainhomeutah.com.
Or call them at 801-543-2222. Again, 801-543-2222.
Hi, friends. Dan, the Laptop Man here from PC Laptops. In celebration of over 32 years of serving humans in Utah with their computer and tech needs, we've slashed our prices. And these are the new 2025 models. Here's the deal. You can get our new 2025 S1 desktop with a blazing Ryzen 5 processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and over a terabyte of blazing fast storage on this promotion. We also have our new 2025 SM3 laptop with the Intel i5 processor, 16 gigs, and over a terabyte of storage for $999. You can take one home today for $9.99. And you also get the peace of mind of our lifetime service warranty. We also have 12 months special financing available, and they start as low as $29 a month. But hurry in because supplies are limited. Because at PC Laptops, we love you. PCLaptops.com. Take home a blazing fast 2025 model desktop or laptop for $9.99 at PCLaptops.com.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. Did you know that we offer 3 distinct styles of gutter protection? Each one meant to handle a specific leaf problem. You might not even know there are different styles of gutter protection, but there are. And if you pick the wrong one, it could be a huge waste of money. Now, the big gutter guard companies won't tell you this. They try to sell you a one-size-fits-all gutter guard, and it could be completely wrong for the amount and types of trees and leaves you have. Not RGS Exteriors. We understand which kind of leaf problem needs which kind of gutter guard. We'll do an in-depth evaluation to assess the types, locations, and numbers of trees in your yard. Based on that data, we match your home to the right gutter guard. So don't risk wasting money on the wrong gutter protection. For a free evaluation and estimate, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's 801-280-3110 or rgsexteriors.com.
The election won't fix our record-breaking national debt. Today's tax rates are at 40-year lows, so many experts agree taxes must go up. And if you have money saved in a tax-deferred IRA or 401k, this could cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars in unnecessary taxes. But if you take advantage of some simple tax planning strategies before December 31st, you could save a small fortune. Discover exactly how much you could save with a free retirement tax savings analysis. It's from Boss Retirement Solutions in Salt Lake City, with more than 7,000 clients served. Schedule your free tax analysis now by calling 801-896-9622. That's 801-896-9622. 801-896-9622. Advisory services offered through Boss Retirement Advisors.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, drivers in Weber County can expect delays along 5600 South throughout next year. But UDOT says the construction will ultimately help the people who live there. Second, South Jordan city officials say they found one person inside a home that exploded and caught fire. That person is dead. And third, we're just 2 days away from the Holy War as BYU and Utah make their final preparations for their matchup this weekend. We're going to shoot for a high today of 48 degrees, and we're on the freezing mark now in Salt Lake City, 32. Now back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
David Dujanovic. Your voice, your vote, 2024. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
We are still tracking here at KSL News Radio the latest developments as ballots get dropped, totals get reported on county clerks' websites. And we know from our reporting yesterday that it appears that the school bond in Salt Lake City has passed. But let's talk right now about the jail bond, as we're calling it, in Salt Lake County. At this point, when we check the latest information, it looks, and again, these totals are updated almost every day, it looks as though it may be on track, at least right now in this snapshot in time, Dave, to fail.
What's so interesting to me about this is, I know we're talking about the jail bond, but when we're looking at the school bonds and how much support they had, 60% of the people said, yeah, let's spend $730 million in the Salt Lake City School District, $125 million in the Murray City School District, hundreds of millions of dollars, thumbs up for education. But when you start talking about jails and that $500 million, that's where people said, nope, I don't want to pay for that. So I do want to know why, yes, on all things education, but no on the jail. So
we're going to get Greg Skordas, our KSL legal analyst, to weigh in on this because he's not only been a defense attorney, he is one now, but also a prosecutor. So he's seen this issue from many sides over the years. But in a nutshell, this is a $500 million billion-plus dollar bond for public safety, criminal justice reform, create a new facility for low-level offenders. It would have brought together the two existing jails into one. And Greg, I think when they're talking about that, do they mean the Oxbow jail in South Salt Lake, combining it with the jail on 33rd, 35th South there, just west of I-15? So
yes, both of those jails are fairly close to each other, actually.
Is Oxbow right now housing female inmates?
Yes, both jails are, but most of the females are housed at what's called the ADC, which is the main Salt Lake County jail.
Once we have breaking news right now, Greg, hold on the line a second. President Biden addressing the nation from the White House.
Yeah, it's good to see you all. Particularly good to see my granddaughter sitting in the front row here. Hi, Finn. How are you, honey? For over 200 years, America has carried on the greatest experiment in self-government in the history of the world. And that's not hyperbole, that's a fact. We're the people. The people vote and choose their own leaders, and they do it peacefully. And we're in a democracy. The will of the people always prevails. Yesterday, I spoke with President-elect Trump to congratulate him on his victory. And I assured him that I would direct my entire administration to work with his team to ensure a peaceful and orderly transition. That's what the American people deserve. Yesterday, I also spoke with Vice President Harris. She's been a partner and a public servant. She ran an inspiring campaign, and everyone got to see something that I learned early on to respect so much, her character. She has a backbone like a ramrod. She has great character, true character. She gave her whole heart and effort, and she and her entire team should be proud of the campaign they ran. You know, the struggle for the soul of America, since our very founding, has always been an ongoing debate and still vital today. I know for some people, it's a time for victory, to state the obvious. For others, it's a time of loss. Campaigns are contests of competing visions. The country chooses one or the other. We accept the choice the country made. I've said many times, you can't love your country only when you win. You can't love your neighbor only when you agree. Something I hope we can do, no matter who you voted for, is see each other not as adversaries, but as fellow Americans. Bring down the temperature. I also hope we can lay to rest the question about the integrity of the American electoral system. It is honest, it is fair, and it is transparent. And it can be trusted, win or lose. I also hope we can restore the respect for all our election workers who busted their necks and took risks at the outset. We should thank them. Thank them for staffing voting sites, counting the votes, and protecting the very integrity of the election. Many of them are volunteers who do it simply out of love for their country. And as they did their duty as citizens, I will do my duty as president. I'll fulfill my oath, and I will honor the Constitution. On January 20th, we'll have a peaceful transfer of power here in America. To all our incredible staff, supporters, cabinet members, all the people who have been hanging out with me for the last 40 years, God love you, as my mother would say. Thank you so much. You put so much into the past 4 years. I know it's a difficult time. You're hurting. I hear you and I see you. But don't forget all that we accomplished. It's been an historic presidency. Not because I'm president, because what we've done, what you've done. A presidency for all Americans. Much of the work we've done is already being felt by the American people, but the vast majority of it will not be felt over the next 10 years. We have legislation we passed that's just only now just really kicking in. We're going to see over $1 trillion worth of infrastructure work done. changing people's lives in rural communities and communities that are in real difficulty, because it takes time to get it done. And so much more it's going to take time. But it's there. The road ahead is clear, assuming we sustain it. There's so much we can get done and will get done based on the way the legislation was passed. And it's truly historic. You know, we're leaving behind the strongest economy in the world. I know people are still hurting, but things are changing rapidly. Together, we've changed America for the better. Now we have 74 days to finish the term, our term. Let's make every day count. That's the responsibility we have to the American people. Look, folks, you all know it in your lives. Setbacks are unavoidable, but giving up is unforgivable. Setbacks are unavoidable, but giving up is unforgivable. We all get knocked down. But the measure of our character, as my dad would say, is how quickly we get back up. Remember, a defeat does not mean we are defeated. We lost this battle. The America of your dreams is calling for you to get back up. That's the story of America for over 240 years and counting. It's a story for all of us, not just some of us. The American experiment endures. We're going to be okay, but we need to stay engaged. We need to keep going. And above all, we need to keep the faith. I'm so proud to have worked with all of you. I really mean it. I sincerely mean it. God bless you all. God bless America. And may God protect our troops. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
President Joe Biden addressing the nation from the Rose Garden at the White House, pledging a peaceful transfer of power come January 20th, calling it the presidency for all Americans, and that the amount of work his staff and he have done over the last 4 years, almost 4 years, may not be felt for years to come, including initiatives such as the Infrastructure Act that is infusing money into repairs and much-needed buildings that have needed to be done across America for decades. It was a short speech, but he had some very profound words to say.
When we come back, I would like to play a few of these clips from President Biden's speech because there were several things that very much resonated with me, and I think they will resonate for people across the country.
And we'll also be joined by Diane Lewis. She's calling in live. She's the Utah Democratic chair for the Democratic Party. She's up next as well.
9:32 at KSL News Radio. I'm Tim Hughes with a look at some of our top stories this half hour. A house fire and explosion in South Jordan has claimed the life of a resident. South Jordan City reported a body found at the site of the explosion and fire near 105th South, 32nd West. The 3 p.m. call on a 2-alarm fire included evacuations of structures on either side of the home. Sarah Anderson tells KSL 5 she could hear the explosion clear across town.
She said the entire building shook, and it's a big building.
Federal investigators trying to determine the exact cause of the explosion. The Red Cross has been assisting as well. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Florida police and mental health professionals continue investigating a series of murder-suicides from midsummer. The cases might have something in common. Here's ABC's Jim Ryan.
On June 9th, a man fatally shot his wife and then himself in front of their kids, beginning a string of murder-suicides that continued this week.
It's never happened in Santa Rosa County.
Sheriff Bob Johnson says the victim in nearly every case was a woman in an abusive relationship. He's pleading with people in that situation to seek help.
If you don't take that first step, this is how it can end.
Including the June incident, Santa Rosa County, Florida has had 9 people die in murder-suicides. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Anyone dealing with suicidal thoughts or domestic violence can call 988 for help. Your money at this moment, the markets are mixed as of now. The Dow down 11, but everything else in the green. The S&P is up 37. The NASDAQ having the best day, up another 1.3% with a gain of 249. Warming trend's going to take us all the way to Monday, and believe it or not, we'll be into the 60s by then. We'll check traffic and weather together next. KSL News Time, 9:33.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the 9s, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
When Dee and I built our new home, and it's almost been 10 years now, I think of all of the appliances that we put in that house, and I cannot tell you how many of them already we have had some major repairs and even replacements. You know the one thing that I haven't given a second thought to? It's the Connecticut soft water system. It is remarkable. We've had 2 systems in 2 different homes, and not once have we ever called with an issue to my friends at Connecticut. It's time for you to call Connecticut. If you're replacing an old system or if you're building a new home, whatever it might be, you will be amazed at how efficient the Connecticut soft water system is. For example, when your neighbor puts in 3 bags of salt in his or her system, you will be putting in only 1. It's remarkable how efficient it is. Give them a call. Great people to do business with. Call Northern Utah's authorized Connecticut dealer at 801-576-8600 or go to softwaterutah.com.
Downy Rinse and Refresh. Break up with stinky clothes.
Rinse it out. Every now and then I get a little bit tired of the stinks that just will never come out. Oh, Downy in the rinse straight. Every now and then I rinse it out. One wash and it delivers. One wash, it smells so clean. Downy Rinse and Refresh, it's a dream.
Downy Rinse and Refresh. Fights odor in just 1 wash. Guaranteed.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
It's Rivalry Week. Let KSL News Radio and Advanced Window Products get you ready for the big game and a special tailgate party. Join us this Friday from 3 to 6 at Chip Cookies in Fort Union. We'll be there with a special offer from Advanced Window Products. Factory direct affordable windows. Call today. They're on their way. Friday from 3 to 6 at Chip Cookies in Fort Union with Advanced Windows. And your home for the rivalry game. KSL News Radio. Attention Utah professionals. Join us at the Utah Business Forward event on November 20th, 2024 at the Grand America Hotel. Learn from successful Utah leaders, including Kurt Doman of Progressive Leasing and U of U women's basketball coach Lynn Roberts. Dive into breakout sessions on entrepreneurship, people and culture, acquisitions, AI, brand marketing, and strategic leadership. Don't miss this opportunity to connect and grow. Visit forward.utahbusiness.com to register today.
Time again for traffic and weather together. Brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents a gallon. How are we looking, Len Thomas?
We are running with some good speeds this morning. Looks like I-15 from Spanish Fork all the way up to Lehigh and over the point of the mountain. One little spot of slowing there just as you approach Bluffdale, about 146 south end. It's all clear. A little bit of slowing in West Valley if you're on the Bangor Highway, just coming off of the 201 down to about 3,500 south. Otherwise, I-80's looking good all the way up to Atkinson and on to Wanship or out to the Great Salt Lake. Get started on your dream kitchen or bath countertops with special financing from Bedrock Quartz for up to 18 months. Visit bedrockquartz.com for details. That's bedrockquartz.com. Len Thomas in the KSL Traffic Center.
High today at 48 degrees. Going to be sunny, not just today, but how about all the way through Monday? Temperatures for Rivalry Day, 53 for a high. Right now in Salt Lake City, it's 32 degrees. From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, I'm Tim Hughes. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Your voice, your vote 2024. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
Moments ago, President Joe Biden addressing the nation from the Rose Garden. This comes, of course, one day after his vice president and Democratic nominee for president, Kamala Harris, gave her concession speech at her alma mater, Howard University. And I felt not only was Kamala Harris's concession speech hitting the right tone at the right time, but moments ago, President Biden following it up, her speech with a speech that also hit the right tone for the nation.
You can't love your country only when you win. You can't love your neighbor only when you agree.
And promising a peaceful transition of power, I thought this was the most important moment of his speech today.
I'll fulfill my oath, and I will honor the Constitution. On January 20th, we'll have a peaceful transfer of power here in America.
Here's my test. If a line is resonating and if it's good. Imagine when he said, you can't love your country only when you win, you can't love your neighbor only when you agree. Does that line work if it's coming out of your opponent's mouth? If Donald Trump says those exact same words, is it just as true as when Joe Biden does? And I absolutely buy that. I absolutely think you can't love your country only when you win, and you can't love your neighbor only when you agree is as good a message as there is out there. And it's probably the most important message on the Wednesday after Election Day.
Here we are, Thursday. But we'll allow, of course, President Biden.
He said it before. I think it's a great line, and I
is.
think it's absolutely true.
And obviously yesterday was an opportunity in Kamala Harris's day to concede the race, also to call President-elect Donald Trump to speak to him, and President Biden also making that call to President-elect Donald Trump. And not only congratulating him, but extending an invitation for the president-elect to visit the White House. Let's bring on Diane Lewis. She's the Utah Democratic Party chair. Good morning, Diane.
Good morning. How are you all today?
Good. How are things over there at Democratic Party headquarters?
Sad, grief. I'm getting choked up now because of President Biden's speech, but it is so true. And thank you both for saying those things, that it is, we have to love everybody all the time, whether we win or lose. And I think that's a very, very important message.
Diane, one thing that came to my mind is so often, even down to the high school basketball game, we battle it out on the court, and then at the end of the game, we meet at midcourt and we shake hands. And that's very much what this felt like to me. It's like in our DNA. We battle it out. Sometimes we get heated, temperatures rise, but at the end, I think that's a crucial part of the game, is to meet at half court, shake hands, and that's very much what this felt like for me.
And myself too. And, you know, I got a text message this morning from our Davis County Dems, and the chair isn't able to be there this morning, so they invited me to come up just to hold space for them and to talk about it, because we all know there's different stages of grief, and the first one is usually the numbness, the trying to figure out what we're doing, and then moving forward from those different stages and feeling and looking at, and this is one thing that I'm very proud of, is the state of Utah and the Democrats and what we've done in the state of Utah and where we sit in our local elections as now. And we did wonderful. We're still doing wonderful, with all these county seats and that we've won. And we held all of our seats for the House and the Senate. And we worked hard. And yes, we've got to come together, and we've got to, I just feel like we've got to quit beating each other up and come together and be proud of our country and be proud of working together for the people of Utah.
I just want to highlight one more. Of course, the president's speech was maybe uncharacteristically short today, but I also think you can. It's quality over quantity. You can say a lot more in 3 or 4 or 5 minutes than you can say in 40 or 45 minutes. So I thought he was really on point this morning from the White House. And when he said this, I thought this is a very powerful statement.
Setbacks are unavoidable, but giving up is unforgivable. We all get knocked down. But the measure of our character, as my dad would say, is how quickly we get back up.
And Diane, I think this points to what you just said, that on the national level, Democrats are certainly feeling a sense of defeat for obvious reasons. But at the local level, Democrats are holding their own and doing well.
We are. And if you saw, and I know you both saw, that a lot of the red state went redder. And Utah held our own, and we are turning blue. I've been looking at the counties, and Salt Lake County is a blue county. I mean, if you look at the presidential race, you look at, the different races, even our congressional races, Democrats won in Salt Lake County by huge margins. And if you look at Summit County, if you look at Grand County, we've been looking at Grand and our commission seats and the ones we were running down there. We are turning purple. And if we continue to work hard in the state party and across our county parties, we are going to turn purple. It's going to take some time, but we are going to do it, and especially with these new maps that are hoping to be drawn by 2026 and have a different congressional look of our, districts.
Diane Lewis, thank you for joining us, the Utah Democratic Chair.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
One of the things that I love about Macy's during this time of year is their Harvest of Hope food drive. Now through November 30th, they're going to raise a bunch of money. They're hoping for about $200,000 to help feed struggling families here in Utah. You may not realize this, but 317,000 people here in Utah, about 1 in 11 individuals, are struggling with food insecurity. And with Macy's Harvest of Hope, they're going to help ease some of those worries and concerns that parents and kids have about where their next meal is going to come from. A lot of different ways where you can donate to Macy's Harvest of Hope. You can actually go into a Macy's, find a team member at checkout, and then make a donation there. This is going to buy some of the basics that are so popular that people want. The peanut butter, the mac and cheese, the tuna fish, chili, all those staples that we take for granted. And again, you can just go into Macy's and make that donation, or you can check it out online by going to Macys.com/online. That's Macys.com/online.
As election season winds down, it's time to cast the most important vote of all. Which team you're cheering on in this year's rivalry game. It's KSL's Ballot Battle. Go to KSLNewsRadio.com and cast your ballot. Vote BYU or Utah. When you vote, you're in to win a basket of gear from your team. Cast your ballot now at KSLNewsRadio.com and may the best team win. It's KSL's Ballot Battle from the legacy home of the BYU Cougars. KSL News Radio.
Hey, what are you doing up on the step stool?
About to clean these light fixtures. The whole family's coming over, and if there's even a speck of dust in the house, my abuela will find it.
Here, I got a Swiffer duster to help with that.
A Swiffer what?
A Swiffer duster. It has this cool extendable handle that reaches 6 feet to get high and low, with fluffy dusters that easily trap and lock dust.
So no more step stool?
No more step stool.
Easily trap and lock dust from hard-to-reach places with the Swiffer duster. Love it or your money back.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy 2. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
Fall is around the corner. Are you ready to upgrade your home with stunning new doors before the holidays, but are overwhelmed with how to begin? Peach Doors is here to make the entire process smooth and stress-free. Visit their showroom to see their wide selection of wood doors, durable fiberglass, energy-efficient aluminum, oversized glass bifold doors, and so much more. It's not just about looks, it's about durability and security to protect what matters most. Let Peach help find you the perfect match for your home, budget, and personal style. Visit their showroom and see for yourself. No pushy sales tactics and only guidance from their experienced staff. No inflated markups just to offer so-called discounts. See their 5-star reviews where customers rate them on their attention to detail through every step of the sale and installation process. Amazing home transformations begin with windows and doors. Serving Logan to St. George, just Google Peach Building to see for yourself. Or check out peachbuildingproducts.com.
I served my country honorably in the Marine Corps, and for almost 3 decades, I've dedicated my life to serving you. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth. I met my incredible wife on a blind date at Camp Lejeune. She also served in the Marines. My son, an Air Force veteran, and my daughter are on our team. I'm sharing this because Trajan Wealth is more than just a business. It's our family's legacy based on trust and integrity. We're here to manage your money and fight for your dreams. Our fiduciary duty is to put your needs first, always. If you have an old 401k collecting dust, or if your current advisor isn't meeting your needs, let's talk. At Trajan Wealth, we're ready to take on your retirement challenges one at a time. Honor the sacrifices of those who served by taking action for your future. Call us today. 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, a church in the Fruit Heights area that volunteered to be a Code Blue shelter for the homeless has withdrawn their offer after heavy pushback from locals. Second, the Utah County Sheriff's Office is asking for help finding 2 people who vandalized Halloween decorations in the Eagle Mountain area. And third, hundreds of town homeowners in Daybreak will have to start paying the HOA more fees starting on New Year's. Shooting for a high today of 48 degrees, and right now in Salt Lake City, it's 32. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Your voice, your vote, 2024. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
We started talking earlier about the jail bond in Salt Lake County. Before, of course, we flipped over live to President Biden's address from the White House. And we're going to return to that conversation right now about the jail bond. Voters asked to help pay for, $500 million bond in order to kind of revamp how we're doing things in the criminal justice system here. And we'll get into more details in just a minute on how that will look. But at this point, it appears that this bond is on track to fail. I will say this with a huge caveat. We don't have a final vote count yet. But you were shocked, Dave, that this was running behind.
In part because there was such a willingness to approve hundreds of millions of dollars worth of school bonds. But when it came to the jail bond, that's where voters are saying no. Now, there's a little something I want to point out. I pulled up a sample ballot about the jail bond and how it was described on the ballot. I live in Davis County, so I didn't see it. But I pulled it up. It's on the clerk's website. Let me just describe and read to you a little bit from the description on the ballot. And you tell me if this is the best way we could have phrased it. At the very end, it talks about the money, the $507 million. That'd be providing monies for the refunding or at prior to the maturity thereof of general obligation bonds of the county authorized hereunder or heretofore issued and now outstanding? ? I mean, how in the world, if you are just a layperson, not a lawyer, reading that, do you walk away and say, oh, yeah, that totally makes sense. I see why we need to take $500 million and put it toward a new jail. I think so often we write things out and we don't read them out loud, because if I'm a voter here, I don't know what's going on with jail. You haven't described to me the need for it.
Yeah, well, it would have created a facility for low-level offenders, brought together the two existing jails. They're both in South Salt Lake. Am I not right about that? Greg Skordas, KSL legal analyst. We've got the jail on about 3500 South, just west of I-15, and then we have the Oxbow jail also in South Salt Lake.
Yeah, they're about a mile apart. Right. Oxbow is just slightly west and a little bit north, but they're both in the very, very same vicinity there in South Salt Lake.
And it would have combined that. It would have also, given some treatment facility for those who might be dealing with mental health issues when they're booked into jail?
Yeah, right. So the Oxbow jail isn't that old, and the idea was that they would do away with that jail, make the ADC, the Adult Detention Center, the main jail, a little bit bigger. You know what's interesting about this, if I could have just a minute, is this was a defining issue in the mayoral race. The Democrat Jenny Wilson very much in favor of the bond, the Republican Aaron Ryder very much against it. That was separated them more than anything else. Jenny Wilson seems to be well ahead, but the issue seems to be somewhat behind. So I would have thought that the two might have been more in parallel, if that makes any sense, and that if in fact voters thought that was an important issue, they would have supported the candidate that felt the same way. But in this case, it went differently.
Greg, I felt like the messaging on the jail bond issue was clumsy. The way I read it on the ballot, I thought was clumsy. But if you could break down to your understanding maybe the need and the reason behind a new jail and what it would provide as far as services.
Sure. So the current jail needs to be expanded. And Oxbow, I think from just the communications we've had with Rosie Rivera, the Salt Lake County Sheriff, is outdated. So getting rid of that facility, selling it, and that would, of course, raise some money for Salt Lake County, and then making the current jail larger, but also including, as you guys have talked about here, more resources, more facilities for homeless, for mental health treatment, for other things that don't necessarily require in custody. A jail, it would have given a much broader base of resources for law enforcement, for Salt Lake County prosecutors to house prisoners, inmates, and other individuals that are having problems than just putting them in the adult detention center. So it was to broaden that base of support for individuals that are suffering, not necessarily criminally, but otherwise.
There could be a couple of things at work here, Greg, with this bond. By the way, Greg Skordas, KSL legal analyst, has spent decades as a defense attorney and also as a prosecutor, so he's seen the criminal justice system from all sides. The one thing is maybe there's fatigue, property tax fatigue, because we know that this bond would have, the average homeowner would have paid about an extra $60 a year. But, some people are also being asked to bond for schools throughout Salt Lake County as well. So that could be it. I want to set that aside for just a moment. I do think there is a general disconnect across, if you're not affected by crime, and you're not booking people into a jail that can't house everybody that is taken off the streets to be booked in, and there's needs to be people who are instantly, booked and released because of jail space, then there is a disconnect with the public about the need for these types of enhancements and rebuilds on our facilities. And I don't remember when the jail was opened in South Salt Lake, but it's been sitting there for a while. It seems to me Oxbow's been around for quite a long time, probably since the 90s, early 90s. So I think there's a general disconnect, and there may be, if you want to call it a marketing issue with government trying to sell these types of bonds, because for most people, they don't, have any sort of encounters regarding the criminal justice system.
You're right, and I don't think that the proponents of this bond marketed it well at all. I'm told that the Salt Lake County Council, even though it's largely Republican, voted in favor of this, I think almost unanimously, if not unanimously. You would expect that they would have touted that more from both sides of the aisle and got the message out about that. But the Oxbow jail and, like you said, the main Salt Lake County jail are not that old. I mean, I remember when I started practicing law, we had the jail right where the big library is right now.
Oh, yeah.
And that wasn't that long ago. So the idea that we're tearing down facilities that were built in the 90s, that doesn't give the county a lot of credibility when we're building something as expensive and as a jail, and then 30, even 40 years later, tearing it down.
Just to clarify, did they want to tear down the jail, or were they just going to add on to it out here on 35th South?
They were going to add on to that, and they were not necessarily tear down the Oxbow jail, but get rid of it. That was no longer going to be part of their plan. So you're right. It was the ADC. But whoever would have purchased the Oxbow jail wouldn't have had any use for it as a jail, I would assume. So that facility would ultimately have probably been torn down.
Greg Skordas, thank you for joining us, our KSL legal analyst.
Yeah, so to answer your question, Dave, we may be willing to lean into school bonds for our kiddos, of course, right? Put the kids first. But I think there is a disconnect when it comes to the criminal justice system and the need for upgrades.
And it was a $500 million investment. So if you're going to ask for $500 million, you got to walk us through, hold our hand.
Straight ahead, the Fed is set to announce a rate cut decision. So we're going to talk to a national expert on what this could mean for mortgage rates next.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City. 2 days until the UCCU rivalry game. Number 9 BYU versus Utah on KSL News Radio.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Votes are still being counted, but all indications show the Alpine School District will be splitting into 3 smaller districts starting in 2027. Some are celebrating the change. Others, including board member Sarah Beeson, tell KSL TV, feels like a divorce.
Alpine will no longer be Alpine in a couple of years, and I think that is hard.
The new school boards for these districts will be elected next November. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Biden spoke at the White House this morning for the first time since Donald Trump claimed victory in the presidential election. He made no mention of Trump in his remarks, but encouraged voters who had backed Vice President Harris to continue fighting for their principles.
We're going to be okay, but we need to stay engaged. We need to keep going. And above all, we need to keep the faith.
The president promised a peaceful transfer of power when Trump moves back to the White House. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day about 6 points, while the NASDAQ is up right now, 263. And our KSL weather, we've got sunshine today, but it's a bit chilly. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Okay, it's confession time. Conference weekend cinnamon rolls and my birthday week got me out of some of the good habits I created with my friends at Soda Weight Loss, and I gained back a few of the 70 pounds I let go of earlier this year. But this is where Soda's true value really kicks in. It was just a quick call to my nutritionist, Kristen. We've got a plan back in place. I'll have this off within a couple of weeks and be right back to where I wanted to be again. Because with Soda, there's no drugs, no pills, no injections, and when you stop taking those quick solutions medications, most people discover the weight just comes right back. Soda has real science, real results, and a proven method to melt that visceral fat and to keep it off for good. It's simple. Just go to sotaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. And while you're there, click the button, request a nutritionist callback, and within minutes, you'll be on the phone with somebody who's ready to help you change your life for the better. Because Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
Don't wait. Hot Tub Factory Outlet and Backyards of America have teamed up for the biggest Black Friday sale ever. If you've been dreaming of a hot tub or swim spa, now is the time to buy. You can shop those other stores, but why would you want to? At our sale, every single Sundance hot tub and swim spa on our showroom floor is on sale with incredible savings of 20, 30, 40, even 50% off MSRP. Yes, you heard right. 20 to 50% off MSRP. Be sure to check out our scratch and dent and floor model blowouts. That saves you thousands. Choose from 20 amazing options. Plus, we'll remove your old hot tub for free. Come see our one-of-a-kind Sundance Swim Spa showroom. We have fantastic rates for those looking to use our financing, too. Visit Hot Tub Factory Outlet next to Cowabunga Bay in Draper. Our new location in Farmington at Station Bar. And Backyards of America and Sandy off 90th South. Don't miss out on this incredible sale. Hurry in while the sale is hot.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy two. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
If you need bold banners to boost your business, but you're on a budget, think Staples. Because now at Staples, you can save up to $50 on your print purchase. From posters and flyers to signs and menus, Staples can print anything you need to move your business forward. And with Staples Print Perfect Guarantee, it's done right or it's printed again free. Plus, same-day service is available on hundreds of items if you order by noon. Get it printed right at Staples. And now get up to $50 off your print purchase. N76, visit staples.com/print for details.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Lynn Thomas.
Well, Dan, a westbound dump truck that is now on the right shoulder was losing some dirt and gravel on the 201 freeway. That's just after 9th West off-ramp. Now, use caution as the driver and another vehicle has stopped here attempting to sweep this up, as well as the highway patrols on the scene and another vehicle. So it's right at 201 at the just after the 9th West off-ramp, and watch out for a little gravel in the area as well. Teens can get up to $200 with the Teen Learn and Earn account, plus continue earning rewards as they master the essential of finance. More at cypresscu.com/teen. I'm Len Thomas in the KSL Traffic Center.
Sunny but cool, highs in the 40s today and tomorrow. Warming trend peaks on Monday with highs in the 60s. And right now, 36 degrees with sunny skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Well, the interest rate might get cut again today because the Fed is expected to announce its decision on what to do with the Fed rate. And what we're going to talk to Bankrate about in just a second, Dave, our national expert, chief financial analyst for Bankrate, Greg McBride, who's waiting on the line to talk to us about this, is, and we understand there's not any direct connection, but there is a bit of an invisible string from today's announcement that'll wind its way over to, the mortgage rate for the home you want to buy.
Yeah, mortgage rates, car rates, it's all intertwined, even though it's not always directly connected. Can I just say this? Can we just take a breath, folks? I mean, it feels like the economy's doing well. If inflation has slowed. All right, let's stimulate the economy with some rate cuts. I just think, can we just catch our breath, because it has been whiplash for years. Sky-high inflation, bringing down mortgages up. I am worn out, and I just want to know, okay, why are you cutting stuff now?
But if you're one of those people that I see on social media who is talking about their credit card debt and looking to inflation and blaming inflation, having to put, groceries on credit cards, boy, I think a rate cut would sound really good right now. Anything you can do to save money on interest, I think is a good move financially. Bankrate Chief Financial Analyst Greg McBride, live on the line. What do you think of that take?
Yeah, I wouldn't sit back and wait for those lower rates to land in your lap. It will help, but it's going to take time. And so I think it's really important, if you have that credit card debt, to continue to be aggressive about paying it down. Take advantage of low-rate balance transfer offers. That can really turbocharge your debt repayment efforts. interest rates are going to come down much slower than they went up. And so that's why, particularly with that high-cost credit card debt, but even other variable rate debts like home equity line of credit, a lot of those are in double-digit interest rate territory. I don't think you can sit back and wait for lower rates to make your day. You have to continue to prioritize the debt repayment.
Greg, as we are looking at the Dow Jones shortly after Election Day, just skyrocket. It's at 43,000, almost 44,000 right now. What's the Fed looking at, or what's the reasoning behind an additional rate cut?
Well, it's not stimulating the economy as much as it's not pressing the gas and giving the economy juice as much as it's lifting the foot off the brake pedal. The Fed raised interest rates to 20-year highs in an effort to get inflation under control. And as inflation has moderated, now the risk is if you leave rates too high for too long, it becomes a real headwind to the economy. And so they want to slowly let the foot off the brake pedal so that those high interest rates can come down and that they're not such a headwind to the economy and the economy can continue to grow. But at the same time, you don't want to bring rates down too fast and you kind of restart that whole inflation issue all over again.
Is it looking like the Fed will lean in the direction of a rate cut, Greg?
Yeah, definitely getting a rate cut today. And, unlike last time, Debbie, when it was kind of a game time decision as to whether they'd cut by a quarter point or a half point, this time we know there's no mystery. They're going to cut by a quarter point. And, the economy's in a solid enough shape that they can be deliberate about when and how much they cut rates. There's not anything that's really screaming for urgency for them to act aggressively so they can make that smaller quarter point cut.
Now, when we're talking about over the last couple of years, we were going up, points, not quarters of points. We're moving up eventually, over just a short period of time, several points. Where do you think the Fed will settle in? Is there a number? Is there a Fed rate that you think they'll say, okay, well, we can settle it right around here?
Yeah, I think 3%. And just to kind of put that number in context for everybody, the rate was effectively zero for many of the years post-financial crisis, and then again through the pandemic. And then when inflation took off, they raised interest rates up as 5.5%. So ultimately, I think they probably settle out around 3%. However, even that 3% is higher than anything we had seen between 2008 and 2022. So new normal, right? Even when rates settle out, they're still going to be higher than what we had been accustomed to for a very long time.
Greg McBride, Bankrate's chief financial analyst, live on the line as we are looking at an announcement from the Federal Reserve about an interest rate cut. What does this mean for mortgages, Greg?
Well, you'd mentioned sort of that invisible string or the indirect connection, and
yes.
I think that's I think it's a perfect description because there are times where the Fed zigs and mortgage rates zag, and it seems counterintuitive, but that's exactly what we've seen in the last 7 weeks. 7 weeks ago, the Fed cut rates by 0.5 percentage point. What's happened with mortgage rates since then? They have bounded higher. They went from 6.2% back up to 7%, really reversing more than half of the decrease, the big decrease we've seen over the summer. And that just illustrates the fact that the Fed doesn't control mortgage rates. There's a loose connection. Sometimes it's a really loose connection, like now, because mortgage rates are based on longer-term rates. What the Fed controls is a short-term rate. So the Fed moves have much more of a bearing on your credit card rate, home equity line of credit, small business loan, those type, even a car loan, not so much on the mortgage rates.
If the Fed rate were eventually to get whittled down to that 3% range from was it a high of 5.5%? How long do you think it would take to whittle that down? Obviously, it's skyrocketed in just a matter of a year and a half or so. How long would they space out that slow reduction?
It really depends on the health of the economy. If the economy slows suddenly, then they're going to reduce interest rates at a much faster pace, and we get there sooner. If the economy continues to chug along, then there's not the urgency to act quickly. they can move at a slower pace, and it'll take a longer time to get there. So, I mean, that's really at the end of the day what it boils down to. But I mean, I think it's something that's throughout 2025 and probably into 2026 before we get there. Unless the economy rolled over, in which case they'd have to move quicker and we'd get there much sooner.
Greg, thank you so much for joining us. Bankrate's Chief Financial Analyst, Greg McBride.
I want to circle back to what he said right off the top about, not sitting back and waiting for great interest rates to come your way, but actually be aggressive about your credit card debt, seeking out those the 0% transfer balances on credit cards. $5,600 right now, according to CNBC's credit card tracker. This is as of the end of September, is what the average Utahn carries as a credit card balance. $5,600. Now, we're doing better than Alaska, folks. They apparently have the highest in the nation at over $8,000. But I think that just goes to show you, Dave, if you are paying right now 22%, 20%, 18%, 15% on that $5,600 balance. I've often compared interest payments that you make to rolling down the window along I-15 and just throwing that same amount of cash that you're paying in interest right out the window. So focusing on that and getting that interest rate reduced as best you can before, without allowing the current rates to catch up to you, I think is an aggressive and important move, and it would be a great way, even though, Christmas is expensive. The holidays can be expensive. Get that spending under control, and then try the best you can not to continue to rack up that credit card debt and paying off that credit card as well.
What a great message, Debbie. You couldn't deliver it at a worse time. Just because the holidays are there and the temptation to go out and spend.
It's about choices.
It is about choices.
It's really about choices. That's what it comes down to. And we can continue to make those excuses, but I think those are the same excuses that I've heard every single year for decades from folks. And that is just, facing the music and living within your financial means and telling family members, hey, let's do a gift exchange this year instead of everybody running out and spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on gifts. And by the way, what gift do you remember that you got last year for Christmas? Right?
Oh, geez, Deb, way to put me on the spot. It was a great gift, very thoughtful. I'll never forget it.
It proves my point. I know for a fact that so many of us, year after year, continue to pay on Christmas through the next November. All the things we put on a credit card. Okay, great discussion. We'll keep an eye, and of course, Maria will have more, Jeff as well, on what the Fed decides to do with the rate with the interest rate cut.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
The White House goes to Donald Trump. The Senate flips to Republicans. But the U.S. House and control of Congress is still a question.
Several outstanding races just too close to call.
The shape of the nation to come is still a question. We're updating the story with breaking information all week. Your Voice, Your Vote 2024 continues on KSL News Radio.
Winter's on the way. Soon the snow will be falling where? On your roof. If you need a new one, now's the time to call IWC Roofing. See, the shingle companies raise prices January 1st, but IWC will lock in this year's prices, even if you want your new roof next spring. And if you book now, they'll also give you an extra $2,000 off. $2,000 off IWC's already low prices. As the #1 residential roofing contractor in Utah, they get volume discounts on shingles and pass the savings on to you. Plus $2,000 off, and you lock in this year's prices. IWC is one of the very few Owens Corning Platinum certified roofers in the state. Their precision teams are so skilled they'll re-roof your home in a single day. They'll send you pictures from the roof so you know exactly what you're getting, and then they'll power wash your driveway just to say thanks. Call now, 801-232-5690. That's 801-232-5690, or go to IWCRoofingUtah.com.
Hi, my name is Kendon Holdaway, and I work for the National Kidney Foundation of Utah and Idaho. Before that, I worked as a dialysis technician at the largest dialysis center in Utah. And before that, I was diagnosed with chronic kidney disease at age 14. However, I am one of the lucky ones. I have an amazing mother who gave me a second chance. She donated her kidney to me, and it changed my life. Thanks to her and a scholarship from the Kidney Foundation, I was able to graduate college, get married, and apply to medical school in hopes of becoming a doctor. Sadly, there are many who are not as lucky as I am. Every car you donate to towcars.org gives hope and help to 3,000 patients like me, many of whom are still waiting for their miracle. Towing is free and donations are tax deductible. Keep donations local by donating online at towkars.org. That's tow cars with a K, like kidney.
I'm Bob Burke, founder and chairman of Burke America Parts Group, a family of brands that includes RepairClinic.com, an appliance and HVAC parts solution company that's grown into an international brand. Before AmericanEagle.com, we partially launched a new technology platform developed by another firm. American Eagle helped take our technology to a whole new level with digital marketing, software development, and business insights into our key markets, appliances, HVAC, and outdoor power equipment, and did so both on time and on budget. AmericanEagle.com has the resources, experience, and talent needed to produce solutions. Our new technology platform, developed by AmericanEagle.com, has produced tremendous results with higher traffic, conversion, engagement, and online revenue. If you have any home repairs you need to take care of, check us out at RepairClinic.com. If you need a world-class website or technology project, then I would highly recommend AmericanEagle.com.
Call AmericanEagle.com at 773-NETWORK. That's AmericanEagle.com, 773-NETWORK.
You know, it's hard to believe that Dee and I have now been living in our new house for about 9 years now. You know, the thing that has really surprised me is how many appliances we have had to have work on and even replace. You know, the one that we haven't replaced, haven't done any work on at all, have not had a minute's trouble with, it's the Kinetico soft water system. And it's so interesting because when we were building the home, the builder said, okay, well, what do you want for a water softener? And I just interrupted. I said, wait, we're going to go with Kinetico. And they just smiled at me like, yeah, we know about Kinetico. Never once have we had an issue with our Kinetico soft water system, not only in our new home, but in our previous home as well. It just sits there in the basement, does its job, does it so much more efficiently than any other soft water system out there on the market today. Why don't you give them a call, 801-576-8600, or go to softwaterutah.com.
Any Hour Services can help you make sure your furnace keeps you warm this winter. Whether you need a tune-up, a repair, or a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bonas. First, the votes are still being counted, but it looks like voters have approved splitting up the Alpine School District. Second, President Biden has promised a peaceful transfer of power when it comes time for Donald Trump to take back the White House. Third, a big wildfire forcing evacuations in Ventura County, California. 36 degrees right now in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave, and Dujanovic. Your voice, your vote, 2024. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
President Biden addressing the nation about an hour ago from the Rose Garden at the White House, talking about the peaceful transfer of power. And also, not beyond the peaceful transition, saying this to the nation about the Democratic loss, but also the Republican win.
You can't love your country only when you win. You can't love your neighbor only when you agree.
As powerful a message as I can remember coming out of a president's mouth. It is absolutely true. It's a crucial reminder, and it works for both Democrats and Republicans.
President Biden addressing the country a little while ago, of course, giving Vice President Kamala Harris the opportunity to address the nation yesterday in a concession speech.
To the young people who are watching, it is okay to feel sad and disappointed, but please know it's going to be okay. Do not despair. This is not a time to throw up our hands. This is a time to roll up our sleeves. This is a time to organize, to mobilize, and to stay engaged for the sake of freedom and justice and the future that we all know we can build together.
This is a hard message to sell right on the heels, right after a devastating loss. It's like nobody wants to listen to Coach after we just lost the championship, right? I need a little time. I need a little space. That message you heard, it didn't come to, rapturous applause and people cheering and yelling like you'd heard before. Is pretty muted because there's a lot of people that put in a lot of time, money, and effort into seeing their candidate win. And when she didn't, I think there's a lot of shock, obviously.
But nonetheless, a concession speech. And I thought that was an important moment yesterday to hear that concession speech and also the promise of a peaceful transition of power. Scott Howell, former Utah State Minority Leader, been a Democrat here in the state of Utah for as long as I can remember, Scott. I think it goes our friendship goes back to the 90s. Also, you hosted Kamala Harris when she came here for the vice presidential debate several years ago when she was on the campaign trail with then Democratic nominee, now President Joe Biden. And what are your thoughts after this, obviously hard-fought campaign? It was a sprint for her, getting about 90 days from the time he dropped out of the race to Election Day to pitch her plan and her candidacy to the American people. How are you feeling about things today?
Well, I'm, excuse me, I'm down in South Carolina as we are talking right now. We came down to Georgia. We used to live in Cobb County, and so we came down last week to do some canvassing, meet friends, and it was really good. And then we drove down to South Carolina, and we spent a couple of days here and finished out the campaign. How am I feeling? I'm feeling grateful that we have a candidate like Kamala Harris who stands up and says, guess what? We're going to have a peaceful transition. We lost, but we're going to keep our heads high. I could not believe that woman yesterday standing up there and having that courage to take on probably one of the toughest challenges of her life. And as Dave said, she made a concession speech. And that showed me the character of what's going on. I'm also thinking that we as Democrats, we've got a lot of work to do. And Debbie and Dave, I learned one thing being down here in the south part of our country. We missed the boat. As Democrats, we did not address directly the issues people feel like in their daily lives, like the cost of living, housing, economic security. So voters see the party as fully in tune with, they don't see it fully in tune with their realities. And as James Carville said it best, it's the economy, stupid. The other thing is we did not engage younger voters. Younger people care about deeply the climate, affordable education, social justice. We have to have a stronger presence to energize that base of our country. And one thing that I really learned from being here in the South, we have to have a broadened outreach. We miss rural and working class communities. They want to feel heard and they want to be included. President Trump got to them. He did a marvelous job of getting to them. Now, I don't believe in the message that he gave to them, that he'll hold to it, but we did not really get underneath of that group of voters to say, we're here with you. Then, I believe in reproductive rights. I believe in a woman. But that shouldn't be the message that we hammer home all the time. We didn't talk about national security, safety. Americans want to feel secure at home and abroad. And we did not communicate that to the public. And we never had a really robust defense plan. And the last thing that I really learned We have to encourage new, fresh leadership within the Democratic Party. We need new voices. We need voices who resonate with today's challenges. We've got to bring some fresh energy to the table and inspire more and more people. So I think when I played football at Skyline High, we were in a lot of champions. But when we lost, Coach Schmidt would say, "We got our butts kicked today, guys. You got to get out there back on the field, and you got to correct what we did wrong." And as Democrats, we got a pretty big butt kicking this last vote.
Scott Howell's joining us right now, a friend of the show, former Senate Minority Leader. And Scott, I think one of the things that pop into my mind is so often at a very high school level, let's go back to your high school football coach, you battle it out on the field, and then at the end of the game, you meet at midfield, and then you shake each other's hands. And that is, I think, a crucial part of any kind of contest, whether it's politics or it's sports. It's meeting at midfield and shaking hands. And I think this was an olive branch, listening to what President Biden said, listening to what Vice President Harris said. It felt like that olive branch and saying, you know what, we're going to help the Trump team transition. We're going to be there. I would love to see them there for his inauguration, despite the fact he wasn't there for theirs. I think that's an important thing to do.
Oh, Dave, you are so spot on, 100%. Look, President Donald J. Trump is the President of the United States. And you know what? We don't need to go out and belittle him or make fun or do something on the first day. If anything, we ought to try and have gentle persuasion. And if there's policies, if he really does want to round up all the immigrants and ship them out, there's got to be voices of reasons. There's got to be guardrails, and that's really what the position we should be in. But not to disparage, not to attack all the time. Look, I respect that office 100%, and I don't care who. I don't care who's in the office. You have to respect the office and disagree with them in a professional, in a kind manner. And you're right, Dave. No, you played football long enough. We're out there shaking hands, and we're patting each other on the back, and we wish him best of success in the next go-around.
As you've got blood on the uniform. Yeah, you got blood on the uniform. You got dirt under your fingernails. And I appreciate it, Scott. Thank you so much for joining us.
Scott Howell, thanks. We appreciate the phone call. Actually sounds like he's just winding up his journey on the campaign trail for former presidential candidate for the Democratic Party, Kamala Harris.
It's 10:31 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. The chair of the Utah Democratic Party says many of their members are feeling sad over the presidential election. But Diane Lewis tells Dave and Dujanovic they're very proud of what they've accomplished locally.
We did wonderful. We're still doing wonderful with all these county seats that we've won. And we held all of our seats for the House and the Senate. And we worked hard.
Lewis says people need to stop beating each other up and come together for the people of Utah. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. A fast-moving fire raging out of control in Southern California's Ventura County. Here's ABC's Mola Lengi.
Fire crews that remain in this neighborhood really had their hands full this morning with the fire that has scorched more than 14,000 acres of land in less than 24 hours. In that time, it was a race to rescue and to evacuate thousands of residents here in Ventura County. First responders going door to door in some cases after that fire sparked early Wednesday morning.
That's ABC's Mola Lengi. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day right now, 43 points. The NASDAQ is up 256. And our KSL weather looks like chilly but sunny. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:32.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Before a disaster turns your family's world upside down, it's up to you to be ready. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed. Learn how at www.ready.gov. Brought to you by the Federal Emergency Management Agency and the Ad Council.
This always surprises me because maybe it shouldn't, but I didn't realize that Master Electrical Service has been around since 1954.
They have, and now they've combined resources and services with Mountain Home Services, so they could do all of your electrical work and also your HVAC, plus
plumbing, and more importantly, for this time of season, fireplaces.
Can you imagine the ambiance of that new gas fireplace in your living room? You know you've been putting that off, so why not give them a call today? It all comes with that upfront pricing guarantee that you and I have been talking about, Dave, for months now.
And this fireplace can be into your existing home. Maybe you're building a home and you're thinking about adding 13 fireplaces in the west wing of your house. Whatever it might be, Mountain Home Services can take care of you, especially with your fireplace needs. But it really is one-stop shopping, and they bring the same level of expertise to everything they do.
All you have to do is give them a call at 801-543-2222. Again, 801-543-2222.
Or visit them online at mountainhomeutah.com.
Transform your old, outdated kitchen with Half Price Granite. For a limited time, Half Price Granite is offering special pricing starting at $25 per square foot installed. That's lower than most big box stores. These prices are some of the lowest around. Granite, quartz, marble, and quartzite, all starting at $25 per square foot installed. Call 801-486-1700 or visit halfpricegranite.com. Half Price Granite, affordable luxury.
Don't let cold season make you miserable. Try the quick, drug-free solution for nasal congestion, Navage. Navage uses gentle suction to flush out your sinuses with refreshing saline, helping you breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier all winter long. And here's even better news. Navage is now available at select Costco locations in a great new value pack. It's everything you need to start breathing better fast. Check out Navage at your local Costco today. Navage, Navage, breathe easy.
Hey BYU football fans, this is Mitch Harper. The Cougars are back from the bye week to take on rival Utah. And to get ready for the rivalry matchup, visit your local Macy's grocery store for all of your game day needs. They've got great prices on all of your favorite game day items like burger patties, made fresh dips, and more. And did you know your favorite tailgate foods are also now offered through Macy's Catering? They offer a wide variety of catering platters from the smoked meats, wings, and even desserts. Catering is available to order online or in the store. So whether you're having a small or large party for this week's Rivalry Showdown, Macy's has you covered. Never miss a deal when you sign up for the Macy's Rewards program so you can get the weekly ads sent straight to your inbox each week.
Hi, this is BYU captain and defensive end Tyler Batty. It's football season again. Make sure to shop your local Macy's grocery stores for all your favorite tailgate foods.
Get game day ready with Macy's. Happy shopping.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Len Thomas.
Well, thank you, Dan. Traffic trooper Jessica calling up saying traffic is stopped on westbound I-80 in the right lane from 7th East up to I-15. And upon gave Sherry a call at the UDOT, she's reporting that this is from gravel and dirt spilled from a truck that went through the spaghetti bowl. And so in spots in the spaghetti bowl, there's going to be dirt and gravel. This is up to where the truck came to rest just after the 9th West off-ramp on the 201. Still a couple of vehicles there as they clean this one up. I'm Len Thomas in the KSL Traffic Center.
It'll be sunny but cool with highs in the 40s today and tomorrow. Warming trend peaks on Monday with highs in the 60s. And right now, 39 degrees and sunny. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Priced out, housing, special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
Homeownership is certainly out of reach for a lot of our adult kids. We've talked about that. And then Senator-elect John Curtis swung by studio yesterday on the heels of his election win. And he pitches this plan regarding just kind of a new way of thinking that's got me thinking about helping my kids get into a home. We're going to get into his plan in just a moment. But dipping into our retirement savings is kind of in a nutshell what he's talking about. And being able to give our kids up to like $50,000 for a down payment on a home is really intriguing to me.
It is intriguing, and it is so tempting. But I'll never forget a survey that I read from Bankrate, and it says that 40% of parents with adult children have sacrificed retirement savings to help their children. And then what happens is, play that out. You help them when you're in your 40s or your 50s. Well, when retirement comes, you may have to delay when you can retire because of some of the sacrifices you made earlier for your kids.
Okay, so hold that thought. We're going to debate that out in just a moment. But I want to play a part of our interview yesterday with Senator-elect John Curtis about this plan to allow Americans, including Utahns, to dip into their IRAs.
Now, it's called a self-directed IRA that people can do, and their money stays in the IRA. They can buy real estate with it, but they cannot buy it for themselves. So my bill simply changes that so they can buy it for themselves. The money stays in their IRA, has all the characteristics of an IRA, but there's $7 trillion trapped in IRAs that would free up for people. Instead of giving them $25,000, which would increase inflation, this is a much better idea.
I want to expand on what he said, Dave, so our listeners have, if you didn't hear the conversation yesterday, you have a clearer idea of what he's talking about. This is according to his own website. The proposed legislation would allow individuals with self-directed IRA accounts, which are retirement savings accounts, to use their retirement savings to purchase a primary residence for themselves. So a place that you're going to live in mainly, not a second home, for yourself, or, and he expands on this in this release, or an immediate family member. And that's why we're talking about our kids.
The self-directed IRAs are interesting. It's something that I haven't done. This is I've always had my 401k or IRAs handled by, some pretty boring investments, right? It goes into mutual funds or by large companies. But a self-directed IRA allows you to diversify. And that's something that, quite honestly, my IRAs don't have. They don't have a lot of diversity when it comes to that portfolio. So with some of these self-directed IRAs, you can invest in cryptocurrency and precious metals and real estate, to your point. And I don't think we think of that very often when we're talking about IRAs.
So I want to flesh this out for just a little bit more according to this release that he's put on his own website. And he's introduced this. It's called the Homes Act. Home Ownership, Mortgage, and Equity Savings, the Homes Act. It's on his own website. Of course, he's still in the House of Representatives. He'll be moving over to the Senate the first of the year. But he says under current rules, funds from a self-directed IRA cannot be used to purchase a primary residence, so a home, right, for the account holder or for an immediate family member.
So you can't use it on your home or the home of your family members.
Under current rules. So this would roll back those rules. He said the funds are restricted to investment properties with limits that prevent renting to family members. So the way that IRAs are set up right now, which are these retirement accounts that you save forever and a day, and then when you're like 59 and a half, you get access to it, it's restricted. So you can purchase, it sounds like, an investment property with it, rent it out to somebody you don't know, put it up on a website for rent, but it restricts you from using it for, a family member. This is what I love about this idea. First of all, it's out of the box. I love out of the box ideas. I also like the idea of being able to diversify my retirement account to help my family member out. I mean, I'd love to help your kiddos out by giving them, a place that they can rent. But I'm going to put my family first and allow and would use my retirement savings, rather use my retirement savings to help my kids get into a home. I also like the idea of helping my kids out financially before I die. Like, you know, they're gonna if we've saved enough money over the years into our own retirement accounts, as there should be some money left over. You know, but when I'm 98 years old and kicking the bucket, sorry if that maybe that came out wrong, maybe I should say, and passing away, I would much rather see them in a home now. If I can afford to do that. I'm not suggesting if you don't have the money, you should be doing that. But if you can afford to do that, I like this option, Dave.
Yes, right now, what we have is basically gifting money to our kids. And a quarter of home buyers right now, first-time home buyers, are receiving money from family members, grandparents, loved ones as a gift to be able to get into that home. And opening up the possibilities of where you can help your kids, but maybe not just have to hand them $80,000 in a down payment, that is undoable for most people. They can't just hand over $80,000 to one kid and then $80,000 to the next kid and $80,000 to the next. There's just not that much money out there. So having some of these avenues with an IRA where you can diversify and maybe make an investment, that's a slam dunk. Like who's going to fight against this? I'd love to find out the downside of this.
We have rules against it right now.
Right? No, we purposely are saying, listen, you can invest in a property, but heaven forbid you actually rent it back to your kids.
Yeah. So do you like it in general?
Well, now I'm warming up to it. I have my initial concerns, again, because anytime you're sacrificing your long-term financial goals, retirement for your kids, but this has a little bit of a tweak on it.
You want to take calls?
Let's do it.
What do you want to ask?
Because I want to know, have you made these sacrifices? Have you made these sacrifices to maybe your long-term retirement for your children? Do you regret it? Because this is a way I think you could help your kids without hurting yourself. So I'd love to hear from people if they regret helping out their kids, maybe with that down payment. Have you had to work longer? Maybe extend your retirement age out a little bit longer? Give us a call, 801-575-TALK. That's 801-575-TALK.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
When I started working with Salt Lake City Fat Loss back in February, one of the things that I loved was every single day they would send me a text message, a video, some tips of why I was doing the plan, why I was dieting the way I'm dieting, why I was following the plan as closely, and that really helped me stay focused. And then when I was staying focused on the plan and sticking with the plan, I started seeing incredible results. And that's really what I wanted to tell you guys about with Salt Lake City Fat Loss. I lost 57 pounds in 60 days with Salt Lake City Fat Loss, and it was just falling off me. It seemed like every time I met somebody, I hadn't seen him for a couple weeks, like, man, Dave, you're losing a lot of weight. So I would tell them about Salt Lake City Fat Loss, and the program helps you lose up to a pound of fat a day. Many people lose 20, 30 pounds in just a month or two, but I had even better results. Go ahead and reach out to them. Visit their website. Schedule a free consultation by going to slcfatloss.com. That's slcfatloss.com.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
What makes you so different than the rest of us?
We ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Tell me more.
Our investment counselors focus on service over sales, prioritizing clients' needs.
How do you make money?
We don't sell any commission-based products. We have a simple management fee based on the value of our client's portfolio. So we do better when our clients do better.
What about client portfolios?
We get to know each client, their finances, family, health, lifestyle, and more, and then we tailor a portfolio based on their specific goals and needs.
Your clients really come first then, huh?
Yes, we make them a top priority. Our goal is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Wow, maybe we are different.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Join KSL and the movie show this Friday from 10 to 1 at the Layton NPS store at 1150 North Main Street in Layton. NPSstore.com.
Get up to a 30% upfront bonus to use for your retirement income, or up to 12% per year to help grow your retirement income. Whether you're in retirement or will be retiring within 10 years, Trajan Wealth can offer some of the highest guarantees in the business. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and I know no one wants to work forever. We all need to retire someday, and I know you've worked hard for your money, so now is the time to guarantee it. Take advantage of up to a 30% upfront bonus for your retirement income, or up to 12% per year for retirement income. Don't woulda, shoulda, coulda. Get up to a 30% bonus just for opening an account, or up to 12% per year for retirement income. Don't leave your retirement to chance. Retire the right way, the Trajan way, with Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. DBA in most states says Trajan Wealth Insurance Solutions.
The temperatures outside have dropped a bunch, and now my family and I are enjoying the benefits of our brand new windows from Advanced Window Products in a different way. During the summer, it was nice to be able to keep the cold air in. Now it's nice to see how much more efficiently we can keep warm air inside. We replaced 20 of our builder-grade windows with high-efficiency windows and a glass door to our backyard with a built-in pet door, and we have just been thrilled with the results. We're already saving on our energy bill. We're helping pay for the windows with the rebate available through Dominion Energy. Our price didn't include any middleman markups because they did the sales and the installation all in-house. My wife and I love that there's a lifetime warranty serviced by their local team, labor, glass, parts included. I promise they're going to treat you right, and you'll have an amazing experience from start to finish, just like I did. Right now is a great time to do it. Also, they're having an end-of-season sale. Save $2,500 on 10 windows or more. 801-850-9100 or advancedwindows.com.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the head of Utah's Democratic Party says they're disappointed in the outcome of the presidential election, but proud of what the party accomplished locally. Second, President Biden called on Democrats to get back up and keep the faith after this election. And third, a huge wildfire forcing evacuations in Southern California's Ventura County. 39 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave's going to monitor the phone calls as they pour in about, giving up or using part of your retirement savings. Representative, and soon-to-be Senator John Curtis stopped by Broadcast House yesterday. Can I just tell them what I'm doing right now?
Finishing a bagel bite.
Sorry,
Listen,
guys.
It happens sometimes. We don't realize. When are we coming back on air? Chomp. This is usually a Dave Noriega issue, not a Debbie Dujanovic issue.
But there's bagels in the hallway. I have scarfed down an entire bagel, and I'm about to go back out there for a second during this segment in like 30 seconds. And Dave is sitting here watching me eat. Sorry.
How you doing there, Chomper?
He keeps begging me for the rest of my bagel, and I'm like, get out of town. All right,
it's all fine.
Here's what's
normally this is all done behind closed doors. You don't see us. Like Debbie will just point at me like, Dave, you need to talk for a minute. You added yourself on this one.
Your bagels are so good. Okay, Senator-elect John Curtis in studio with us yesterday, pitching this plan that he talked about when it comes to the housing crisis. Because I asked him, I'm like, we know Utahns. They care most in terms of issues about the housing crunch right now and housing affordability. And so he says, I have a plan for that. I've introduced it. It's called the Homes Act. And you could use your IRA. I'm talking to you, Mom and Dad, people my age and older who have, been saving for retirement your whole life, and you have a little nest egg going on. And you can use some of that money under his plan to help your immediate family member, in this case, I'm thinking it's your adult kiddos, like I'm thinking about my kids, to purchase a home.
Now, it's called a self-directed IRA that people can do, and their money stays in the IRA. They can buy real estate with it, but they cannot buy it for themselves. So my bill simply changes that so they can buy it for themselves. The money stays in their IRA, has all the characteristics of an IRA, but there's $7 trillion trapped in IRAs that would free up for people instead of giving them $25,000, which would increase inflation, this is a much better idea.
Referring to Kamala Harris's pitch along the campaign trail for that $25,000 for, to get into a starter home.
My concern, and this seems to be like a pretty good idea, but my concern is so often we help our kids get into homes or pay for college at the sacrifice of our own retirement and our long-term savings. Almost 40% of people have done that. I saw that with Bankrate. They did some great research on this, where we make sacrifices, and it affects how soon we can retire, how secure we are in retirement. And we wanted to hear from you. 801-575-TALK. Do you like this idea, or have you done this where you contributed or gave some money to your kids that hurt you in the long term with your retirement? Jennifer in Kaysville. What do you think, Jen?
Yeah, I just barely heard the last part of your last segment. So if I say something stupid here, I'm sorry. But we are in this exact position. I love the idea. We are ready to retire in a couple of years. We have our primary home. We also own 2 rentals. We do not want to buy another rental, but we would love to invest in real estate with our kids. I don't know all the ins and outs of that, but we have talked about it over and over. How can we do this? And it just keeps getting booted out. We discussed this very thing last night with our daughter, who was just short of the, to get a very cheaply priced home, just short of what they need to make their payment affordable. And we have 2 children in this situation, 2 children that already are invested in the market. So anything we can do, I would rather do something like this and make it possible than have the government dole out the money.
Thanks, Jennifer. That was actually spot on to exactly what we're talking about. In fact, under the current rules with self-directed IRAs, according to the information that John Curtis's office has put on his house website. In fact, you might want to go look it up. All I did was Google, this, and it came right up. The Home Ownership Mortgage and Equity Savings Act, which is the Homes Act. They talk about how there's restrictions right now when it comes to purchasing properties using your IRA. It has to be for an investment property. And the limitations prevent you from renting it currently to family members. So, yeah, it gets you in the spot where you're like, well, let's just roll that back so I can actually use my retirement savings to help my kids now, while I can help them financially while I'm still here to see them enjoy it, instead of waiting until after I pass away and the money's divided up through my trust or my will or however that works in your family.
And how strange is it that the government will say, listen, you can rent it to a complete and total stranger that you've never met once in your life, but not your son.
And having been a landlord, Jennifer, in your same situation, it sounds like, having been a landlord to people, who rent it out to people we don't know, that creates, I did learn a lesson at one point. I thought having other people who are not family members in my life calling me at all hours of the night gets very, very stressful.
But, sorry, Debbie.
No, go ahead. No, it's okay.
I was just going to say, but that being said, renting out and doing business with your family members, that has some of its own struggles as well. Yeah. Daryl and Sandy, it sounds like you may have some advice to loaning to your kids.
I've grown up in the title business and have worked with people through the years. And there's a lot of money lost in family loans. And you really do need to be careful. When things get difficult, the first person that doesn't get paid is a family member.
It's true.
And what my advice is that I think it's a great idea and it's a good thing to do, but you really want to have security in doing that. And that would, if someone wants to lend their child $100,000 or more to buy a house, they run the risk of losing it completely unless they're prepared to start off with, to get good security for that loan as a trustee on that house. And preferably a first trustee, which probably can't happen very often because you got to have a first mortgage.
Yep.
But that parent needs to be prepared to pay the payments on that first mortgage if their children cannot do it.
Yeah, that is, I think, part of the struggle as parents, that we want to help. We also don't want to strain relationships as well if things start going badly. And I've actually wondered about this, Debbie, if we were ever to create some sort of an arrangement with our kids and give them money and they were promising to pay back, if there was some sort of third party that could handle the details of it, so that if someone's got to be a bad guy, it doesn't have to be dad, that it can be some other third party. I would be willing to pay somebody to handle that for me. But what great calls and conversation. Kevin in Plain City, I'm sorry we just ran out of time, but thank you so much for calling.
Yeah, we're going to get to breaking news in just a moment once we confirm some information that I just talked to our producers about, Dave, while you were talking. So let's hold off on that breaking news until we can check with our newsroom on some information that we're getting here at Broadcast House. But for now, we're going to step away. Greg, thank you so much for your phone calls. Boyd Matheson, straight ahead. He's going to be talking to us about the election and what he thinks in terms of how we can handle any sort of concerns, or perhaps you're experiencing some anxiety over the election results. Boyd's up next to walk us through his suggestions.
KSL Salt Lake City. 2 days until the UCCU rivalry game. Number 9 BYU versus Utah on KSL News Radio.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour, a church in Fruit Heights that volunteered to be a Code Blue shelter for homeless residents has withdrawn their offer after heavy pushback from locals.
We are grieved that the Code Blue Warming Center has become such a divisive and emotional issue.
That's Mountain Road Church Pastor Don Kraft at a community meeting attended by KSL TV. Residents there voiced their disapproval of the church considering taking in the homeless on nights where the temperature drops to 18 degrees or colder. Under state law, the county still needs to find a new Code Blue center. That could wind up being an old Kaysville emissions building or the Clearfield Senior Center. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Biden at the White House today speaking about the presidential election won by former President Trump. He praised the campaign run by Vice President Kamala Harris.
She gave her whole heart and effort, and she and her entire team should be proud of the campaign they ran.
The president also saying his administration will work for a peaceful transition to the new president. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average now up on the day, 50 points right now, while the NASDAQ is up 265. And it looks like we'll get cool but sunny weather the next couple of days. KSL News Time, 11:01.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
The election won't fix our record-breaking national debt. Today's tax rates are at 40-year lows, so many experts agree taxes must go up. And if you have money saved in a tax-deferred IRA or 401k, this could cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars in unnecessary taxes. But if you take advantage of some simple tax planning strategies before December 31st, you could save a small fortune. Discover exactly how much you could save with a free retirement tax savings analysis. It's from Boss Retirement Solutions in Salt Lake City, with more than 7,000 clients served. Schedule your free tax analysis now by calling 801-896-9622. That's 801-896-9622. 801-896-9622. Advisory services offered through Boss Retirement Advisors.
Do you know how to tell if a clogged drain is something to worry about or not? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and I understand it's annoying and inconvenient, but sometimes a clogged drain can be a sign there's a more serious issue with your sewer main line. If the drains in the lowest level of your home aren't draining, or you flush a toilet and it comes up somewhere else like a shower or a floor drain, I'm urging you to look at this as more than just an annoyance. The last thing I want you to experience is a sewer backup. If you're a homeowner experiencing any of these issues, the first step would be to snake the line to see if it's just a blockage, which one of our drain techs can do for only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
At the UPS Store, we know being a small business owner means holiday time is still go time. Still get those orders shipped time. And still re-up on stamps and supplies time. That's why this upcoming holiday, while others close up shop, we'll be open. And happy to help you keep being unstoppable. Come into your local store today. Most locations are independently owned. Product, services, pricing, and hours of operation may vary. See Center for details. The UPS Store. Be unstoppable.
If you need bold banners to boost your business, but you're on a budget, think Staples. Because now at Staples, you can save up to $50 on your print purchase. From posters and flyers to signs and menus, Staples can print anything you need to move your business forward. And with Staples Print Perfect Guarantee, it's done right or it's printed again free. Plus, same-day service is available on hundreds of items if you order by noon. Get it printed right at Staples. And now get up to $50 off your print purchase. And 7/6, visit staples.com/print for details.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Len Thomas.
We got a couple of crashes. One is in Roy. It's southbound I-15 to 5600 south. You've got a left lane closed there, and traffic is very slow there. It's pretty much from 5600 South Roy up to the Riverdale exit. Otherwise, there's another crash. We're hearing in the scanner. It's about I-215. It's northbound prior to 2100 north, off on the right side as you head northbound once again. This holiday season, Murdoch Hyundai is grateful to you. Celebrate during the Murdoch Hyundai Season of Giving sales event. Receive 0% for 4 years on the Elantra, Sonata, Tucson, or Santa Fe. Len Thomas in the KSL Traffic Center.
It'll be sunny but cool with highs in the 40s today and tomorrow. A warming trend peaks on Monday with highs in the 60s. And right now, we're at 39 degrees with sunny skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Wanted to bring you some breaking news because I know a lot of families and residents in the South Jordan area, as I was tracking this story yesterday, were really impacted by an explosion that appeared to be at a house yesterday and a fire. And we just received word from the city of South Jordan confirming that a 15-year-old male student from Bingham High School was killed in that explosion and house fire yesterday. And I know it was several hours after police and the fire department able to get things under control that they announced that they had found a body inside the home. And I just wanted to let everybody know I live in that area. I know it was. I was watching the Facebook page. People really concerned about what was going on, that we do have more information on that this morning that we just got from the city of South Jordan, and that it was a 15-year-old student at Bingham High School, which is very, very close to that area, and that explosion and house fire happened at about 105th South and 32nd West yesterday afternoon. So certainly our hearts go out to the family and also the friends and students at Bingham High School. And we'll continue to keep you updated as we get more information. I know some of you are going to be wondering If there's been if the name has been released, no, the name of the student is not. It has not been released. But again, we'll continue to track the developments as they happen.
Dave and Dujanovic have inside sources.
Boyd Matheson joining us right now, and Boyd, just as this show started, about half an hour into the show, we saw President Biden step in front of the podium, take the microphone, and he gave a message. And I want to play a little bit of that message today. And my favorite part, I've heard his line before. He's used this line before, but I love this.
You can't love your country only when you win. You can't love your neighbor only when you agree.
When I hear powerful messages, I don't care who says them. I don't care where they come from. It's truth. And I love when I hear stuff like that. You can't just love your country when you win. You can't just love your neighbors when you agree. And that is an incredible message to send.
And such an important message, a timely message. And principles ring true, no matter who says it, no matter what the setting is. I have always believed that you find out much more about a person when they speak after a loss than they do after a victory. And I think some of the greatest speeches, political speeches in our nation's history, have come after loss. Hillary Clinton, best speech of her life was the concession speech in 2016. Mitt Romney, one of his greatest speeches was in 2012 after a loss. Likewise, I think Kamala Harris, our vice president, she had some moments yesterday at Howard University that were absolutely brilliant.
To the young people who are watching, it is okay to feel sad and disappointed. But please know it's going to be okay. Do not despair. This is not a time to throw up our hands. This is a time to roll up our sleeves. This is a time to organize, to mobilize, and to stay engaged for the sake of freedom and justice and the future that we all know we can build together.
I love that. Don't throw up your hands, roll up your sleeves, and go to work. I also love the fact that the vice president talked yesterday about none of us should be so focused and pledge our allegiance to a political party or to a politician, but to the principles that have made this country extraordinary. And so we always say we're equal opportunity offenders. We're also equal opportunity commenders. And I thought the commander-in-chief today, Joe Biden, did a brilliant job. A short message, about 6.5 minutes. We're going to replay it in its entirety coming up right off the top of the show on Inside Sources today, because it matters. And these moments matter. They matter for us as a country. And rather than saying, well, my team won, so I'm going to go spike the ball and do an end zone dance, or saying, oh, I lost, I'm not going to listen, I'm going to disengage for a few days. No. That is not what we do in this country. We lean in, we pick ourselves up, we dust ourselves off, because all of these things that we're thinking about, and Vice President Harris said this yesterday, all of these things that we've gone through during a really tough, a really painful, a really exhausting and exasperating election season, those are all things that unite us. We may have a different policy agenda. We may think that this might be a better solution to immigration or health care than maybe what they're offering. But it's having that battle in the marketplace of ideas, and then the American people get to vote and decide which direction we're going to go for a season. Everything's seasonal. And then we all link arms and we move on together in our communities. Nobody got up this morning thinking, well, I'm not going to go help my neighbor Dave because of the way he voted for president. Or I'm not going to help out, Deb when she's at the side of the road with a flat tire because, she voted for that county council person. That's not how we think in this country. And so if we want to have these elections be less consequential to our lives, we need to make sure we don't let the government become so consequential in our lives. It always comes back to community. Community and culture lead. Politicians will follow, folks, if we lead. That's the bigger question. Don't sit around waiting for someone to lead us. No. We lead as the citizens. The politicians will follow.
The concession, the things we're hearing after the election, I love. There's a humility there. There's an introspection, I think, that is crucial. I also have whiplash because not 5 minutes before the election, we were hearing threat to democracy, calling Trump a fascist, a dictator on day one. And Trump was no better, right? I mean, the same kind of rhetoric that came from them. So then when these politicians stand before and they say these very pretty words, which I believe in, I agree with what they're saying, it just rings hollow when all I've heard for the past year and a half is the terrible, hateful rhetoric over and over and over again.
Yeah, and this is an area where, one, I think we have a responsibility as citizens to not reward the bad behavior that you just described. And then we also need people running for office who will be willing to look their consultants in the eye and say, I am not going to deliver that message today. Kamala Harris is a great case study. This will be studied in universities for a long time to come. So she came in as an idea 107 days before the election. Incredible momentum. She didn't have to say anything in those first 35 or 45 days. And so she had great momentum, and had that continued, her biggest problem was she had too long a period of time to be just an idea, not enough time to really get on her message. So as she had momentum rolling down the home stretch of this election, about 2 weeks before Election Day, they pivoted to the very dark, very message that Joe Biden had been talking about, threat to democracy, end of the world as we know it. And they went on that for about 4 days, and they lost momentum, and they never got it back.
Boyd, before you step out of here, I do want to give you the final word on this. And there are people, millions of people did vote for Kamala Harris across the United. I know, obviously Trump also won the popular vote, not just the Electoral College. For those people who may be feeling anxious about the next 4 years. You and I exchanged some thoughts out in the newsroom before the show today, and I would like for you to sort of end on that message.
Yeah, so one of the things that we have to remember is the founders really were brilliant, and I would say they were inspired in the way they put this constitutional republic together. We've had bad presidents before. We've had good presidents before. We've had good members of Congress. We've had horrible, horrific, terrible members of Congress before. We've had problems in the judiciary. We've had problems in the agencies and the departments of government. And we're still here. This grand experiment in a constitutional democracy is still the grandest experiment the world has ever known. We live in a system on our very worst day. Our very worst day in this country, still we are the envy of the world. Still people are giving up everything they have just to have a chance, to get here. So we need to remember that. We also have some pretty extraordinary guardrails. We complain about gridlock in Washington, D.C., but that gridlock sometimes is a pretty good thing to have because it taps the brakes on things that might be a little too fast or a little too out of control or a little too wild of a swing. And so we do have guardrails. Divided government is not a bad thing. Whether we end up with it for the next year or so, we don't know that quite yet. But those guardrails always hold. And we come back even on a horrific day, one of the most horrific days, on January the 6th, the most beautiful moment, the most powerful moment. I love the Senate of the United States. I love it. And I've had some pretty amazing moments in the well of the Senate, but the most powerful moment I've ever witnessed was on January 6th, just hours after protesters had breached the security and stormed the Capitol building. Just hours after that, then Vice President Mike Pence pounded the gavel, called the United States Senate back into session, and the Republic rolled on. And the Republic is going to continue to roll on. So if you're feeling bad, if you're feeling like you lost and you're worried and you're scared, just know that this thing is designed to withstand some pretty brutal attacks, even from within. And the greatest assurance we have, the greatest confidence we should have, is not because of who's walking down the marbled halls of the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., or who's sitting behind the Resolute desk in the Oval Office. We should have great confidence in the future of this country because of who our neighbor is and who lives in these extraordinary communities in this place we call Utah. That is an extraordinary place. And that's why even on tough days, even on days you might be rubbing those wounds a little bit after a stinging loss during an election cycle, great days are yet to come. Why? Because the greatest guardrail, the greatest strength of this nation is we the people. And as long as we the people continue to believe that we have a shared project, that unity in this country is not a campaign slogan, unity in this country is a shared project, that we do this thing together. And as long as we keep doing that, we the people, we're going to be just fine. We have extraordinary, great days ahead.
and we the people can love our neighbor when we disagree.
Yeah,
Boyd,
absolutely.
thank you so much. Inspiring words.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to kslnewsradio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio.
Polls are done. The hard work is finished. A nation divided settles its differences. The BYU-Utah rivalry game.
Touchdown, BYU!
This weekend, listen to Cougar Sports Saturday at noon and the BYU-Utah kickoff at 8:15 on Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio.
Food brings people together, but many families don't know where their next meal is coming.
Do you ever feel like getting your supplies for your CPAP is just a huge headache? Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical. We'll say goodbye to the hassle and hello to a stress-free life with our CPAP resupply service. Signing up is a breeze. Just place a call, choose your products, and leave the insurance billing and shipping to us. Our discreet packaging prioritizes your privacy, and we always ensure an on-time delivery. No more trips to the store or worrying about running out of important supplies. We get how crucial your CPAP therapy is, so don't let the stress of keeping up with it affect your sleep and health. Join Alpine Resupply today and enjoy a tranquil night's sleep with all your CPAP essentials. Visit us at alpinehomemedical.com.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
That's alpinehomemedical.com.
Food brings people together, but many families don't know where their next meal is coming from. In Utah, 317,000 people, many of whom are children, are struggling